So yesterday I posted a little poll on the channel and it seemed like a lot of y'all wanted to know what my take was on this particular topic. So today we're gonna discuss. A lot has been made over Joe Burrow's comments over the past few weeks, or I should say a lot has been made over some of Joe Burrow's comments over the past few weeks. Only the ones that fit a particular narrative. The others have been kind of pushed to the back and ignored. I'm not gonna lie, I have been completely ignoring this entire thing for the past couple of weeks because I honestly feel like it's a bit irrelevant, but it's just growing, man. And it's starting to piss off our players. It's starting to piss off a lot of our fans and, you know, our media, Bengals media. And it's finally getting to the point where I'm like, all right, let me just give my thoughts on it, okay? I'm not finna solve the whole situation, nothing like that. This is just my take. This is just my opinion. This is just how I view the whole thing. Now, this whole thing kind of started when Carson Palmer randomly came out and he had some things to say against the Bengals organization during the time that he was there. Okay, fair enough. The Bengals definitely don't have a perfect track record. That's for damn sure. Carson kind of left out a lot of stuff, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It kind of, you know, that planted the seed. Then Dan Patrick interviewed Joe Burrow and we came out of it and was like, you know what? I feel like he's non-committal. Now, I have to point out that a very similar narrative was created last year when Kyler Murray was on Dan Patrick's show. Once again, it was early February. So there's a little bit of a trend here. I'll leave it at that. Dan Patrick saying, I think he's non-committal, about a week and a half later, had transformed into Bo Money Jones saying Joe Burrow clearly doesn't want to play for the Bengals. Like, it went from, yo, I think he's non-committal to he clearly doesn't want to play for this team. Of course, Joe Burrow has not said this. These are instead mainstream media's interpretation of some of the quotes that Joe has made. Today, I want to talk about some of those quotes. I want to tell you what I think they mean. And I also want to bring emphasis to a few other quotes that the mainstream media has kind of left out. Some of the things that Joe has said, and once again, some of the things that his parents have said. As a fan for well over a decade, probably 2 decades now, I am fully aware that the Bengals are not the greatest organization. That's a fact. I'm also aware that we're far from like the worst of the worst. And like the way that people portray us is honestly some BS. Few of the narratives are rooted in truth, but they've been exaggerated to a point that people's perception of what the Bengals actually are is just way off. It's skewed from the actual reality of the situation. So today's video is kind of just an amalgamation of all of my thoughts about this entire situation. Sit back, relax. I hope y'all enjoy. Other than that, y'all already know what time it is, fellas. Cue the way. Now, regardless of what team Joe Burrow ends up going to, hopefully it's us, but regardless, when you decide to cop tickets, you should do so using today's video sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a longtime sponsor on the channel. Basically, they're an app that aggregates tickets from all over the internet. They put them in one place and really simplify the ticket buying process. Every single deal the app puts in front of you, they grade on a scale from 1 to 10, and you can really kind of dissect it at a glance because the green deals are good and the red deals are bad. If you want to download the SeatGeek app, all you got to do, click the link in the description and don't forget to use my code, FlemLo. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Let's get it. Now, I want to start this video off by saying this. I ain't no bitch. So, if Joe Burrow does decide to come out and say, yo, I don't want to play for the Bengals, that is cool. I ain't no weak ass jersey burning, no coping skills having fan who's gonna spend the rest of my life trying to drag down Joe Burrow just because he decided he didn't want to come to my team. I'll respect his decision and then look at the options that the Bengals still have. You got Tua, you got Chase Young. Maybe we go Chase Young, pick up a quarterback later in the draft. There's other options. It's not the end of the world. That's just how I'm built. I'm used to making things work with what I have. That ain't gonna change. But to this point, Joe Burrow has not said that. So until he does, I will remain on the Joe Burrow to the Bengals hype train that I've been on since like midway through the season. The national media knows a little bit about Bengals history. They do. The problem is they know very little about the current Bengals organization. They don't understand the wide receiver talent we have. They don't understand that we have one of the best young running backs in the game. They don't understand that we drafted an offensive lineman in the first round of last year's draft. Unfortunately, he did not play a game. He got hurt and missed the entire season. They don't understand that we picked up Cordy Glenn to come in and also help the offensive line. They don't understand that he was out pretty much the whole damn season in concussion protocol. They don't understand that the best receiver in Bengals history, AJ Green, missed the entire season. They don't get none of that. They don't get that we had a rookie head coach that wasn't paying attention in the second half of the year when we adjusted the offensive line scheme, and Joe Mixon ended up having an amazing second half to the season. They don't get that we've continued to develop our young players, and we found some young gems in key places, including offensive line, linebacker, and DB. And check it out, I don't blame them. They're the national media. They covering every team across every league. There's no way they're gonna be keeping up with all these small little nuances and details. But the problem is, because they don't, when they speak on us, they really don't be knowing what the hell they be talking about. And that's the issue. If it's not the Dallas Cowboys or the Lakers or the Steelers or one of these big brand teams, they're usually pretty clueless and they end up spreading hella misinformation. I'm a Bengals fan and I can't keep up with all this stuff. I literally go to podcasts that specifically cover the Bengals all the time. That's the type of stuff I listen to stay up to date with all the stuff that is going on so that I can really understand how the Bengals are currently moving. So I'm not blaming the national media for their lack of information when it comes to the Bengals. It's a very difficult thing to keep up with when you got all this other stuff going on. That's just the reality of the situation. That's just what it is. I get it. With that said, I've never seen so many people coming out and advising the first round pick of any draft to completely shun the team with the first round pick. Like, is this not why the draft was put in place? Like, is this not why the draft worked the way it works? We had the worst season last year. We get the first pick. You tell who's perceived as the best player, yo, don't go to that team. They suck. Well, obviously, bro. That's why we had the first pick. The thing is, we don't suck nearly as bad as people think. People seem to think that we have sucked for like the last 10 years. No. We had one terrible season. That was last year. Other than that, we put together competitive teams and made the playoffs 5 times in the last decade. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you that the fact that we made the playoff 5 times and did not get a playoff win makes us this great organization. I promise you, I ain't trying to tell you that. And if you watch my videos, you understand my frustration with that. But at the same time, we're not even close to the bottom of the league when it comes to putting together winning seasons over the past 10 years. Let me point your attention to an article on Patriots.com of all places. Now, this article was published prior to this past 2019 season and is called NFL Decade Standings from 2010 to 2018. In this article, they break down NFL teams in order from best to worst regular season records from 2011 to 2018. At number 1, you got the Patriots. At number 2, you got Pittsburgh, a team we play twice a year, every single year because they're in our division. You got Green Bay at 3. Skip a couple, get to number 6, you got Baltimore, yet another team in our division. And despite the fact that between 2011 and 2018, 2 of the top 6 teams when it comes to regular season wins literally make up 4 games on our schedule every single season. Despite that, where do we rank? Number 12, bruh. Number 12. We damn near top 10. 12 out of 32 teams, dog. Only 3 wins behind the beloved Dallas Cowboys. That is not a shot at the Cowboys. I understand they've had more playoff success. I understand the team history. I understand all of that. I understand the brand. I'm just trying to put in perspective that we have not been nearly as bad as people think. During this time span, we got better records than the Colts, the Panthers, the Chargers, the 49ers, the Giants, Dolphins, Rams, Jets, so on and so on. So we've clearly not been the worst team over any sustained period of time. Since 2011, we've won our division twice. We've made the playoffs 5 times. We had 3 years around 6 or 7 wins, which obviously isn't great, but isn't terrible. And then we had one terrible season. That was last year. Now, a lot of this comes from our lack of postseason success. Cool. We have sucked in the playoffs. Even the 5 years we made it straight, we lost in the first round every single time due to disciplinary problems, poor game planning, lack of second half adjustments, and some really rotten luck. Due to those things, we have unfortunately not been able to win a playoff game. It does suck. We are frustrated. Our players are frustrated. We want to change this. So I understand how some people might feel about us as an organization, but don't act like we just been the worst team for the last 10 years. It's far from the truth. Now, one take that definitely has hella merit is the fact that we do not have a great owner. So you telling me that the Bengals, the Lions, the Redskins, Dolphins, the Jets, The Jaguars, bro. It's a lot of organizations that are not run well. Any of these teams gets the #1 spot ever. Every single year, whoever that top player is should pull a Eli Manning and not go to these teams because they're not some of the top echelon organizations in the league. That would literally break the league. There have been a lot of changes in our organization since the Carson Palmer days. Like, that is old, man. Mike Brown hasn't been like great since then, but he's definitely been better. That's a fact. And for some reason, most of our current players seem to love being a Cincinnati Bengal, despite the fact that, you know, these narratives exist. And that might have something to do with the fact that our organization, generally speaking, does take care of our own players. We pay our own guys. We are not super active on the free agent market, but we're not the only team that's like that. The Saints before Drew Brees wasn't super active. The Packers still ain't super active. Good points brought up by Zim Hude on the Orange is New Black podcast. But like I said, generally speaking, we take care of our own guys. We did have one huge blunder when it comes to Andrew Whitworth, and we're going to have to prove that this is still the case as AJ Green and Joe Mixon are due for contracts. If we don't get those deals done, I will retract every good thing I just said about our owner. Make it happen. All right, now that I kind of got that out of my system, let's jump into these Joe Burrow quotes. And these ain't necessarily in order that he said them. These are just the biggest ones to like the smallest one. Quote 1. I do have leverage. They have their process and I have my process. We haven't even gotten to the NFL Combine yet. There's a lot of things that happen leading up to the draft and a lot of information gathered. These are all facts, and when Zach Taylor was asked about Joe Burrow right after the season, he said something very similar, something very non-committal. Early in the process, we got to evaluate, we got to see. There is no reason for Joe Burrow to come out right now and make a public commitment to the Bengals. We have not made a public commitment to him. I can't remember no quarterback or no player coming out and making a commitment to an organization in February, dog. Even the whole Baker Mayfield thing, a lot of people talking about Baker Mayfield came out and said this about Cleveland. Bro, that was at the Combine. The same time period that Joe Burrow alludes to in the quote. He says, yo, there's a lot of information gathering. What I take that to mean is, man, I want to sit down with the staff. I would love to probably talk to the owner, see where their heads at. I want to make sure they committed to trying to go get a Super Bowl, because in the past we have not always been. In the past, sometimes we've been happy and complacent with mediocrity. Joe Burrow wants to check the temperature. Like, can I meet the damn people before y'all want me to just jump out and make a commitment? Now, the part that everybody ignores come from the exact same interview. I kid you not, from the exact same interview. He was asked about playing for the Bengals. Here's what he said. It's an interesting thought. Going back home to Ohio, it would be a lot of fun. It would. That definitely doesn't sound like a person who clearly doesn't want to play for the Bengals. How is that quote being ignored? Joe Burrow's mom was asked about him not wanting to play for the Bengals. Here's what she said. We have no idea where that come from. It's a story out there that someone has created that doesn't have any substance. Joe's dad in a separate interview said pretty much the exact same thing. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about none of that. Joe's also on the record saying, I'm a ball player. Whoever takes me, that's where I'm going to play. Again, nobody cares. It's not a good headline. I want to go back to the leverage quote for a minute. Everybody took that as, yo, he don't want to play for the Bengals. I kind of actually took it differently. I took it like, yeah, I got leverage. So when I sit down, it's like a job interview. If I'm going into a job interview, some people ain't never had leverage. When I was in sales, they called me into this job. I had leverage, like I could take this job or I could not. So when I sat down in the interview, there are certain things I wanted to hear. You feel me? And if you couldn't tell me that, then I wasn't gonna come there. It didn't mean that, yo, I don't want to work here, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, nah, let's see, make sure this is a good fit. I'm leaning toward this or I wouldn't even be here in the interview. I kind of took that leverage quote and I looked back at another quote he had where he said, I want to play for an organization that's committed to winning the Super Bowl, which just take me back to my earlier point. A guy who says, yo, I think it would be fun going back and playing Ohio. I got leverage. I want to play for a team that's committed to winning the Super Bowl. Not in that order, but these are all things that he said, right? I honestly took it like he just wants to make sure that the Bengals are, once again, committed to excellence, not mediocrity. And as a fan, I've been screaming at this damn camera that same exact sentiment for at least the past 2 or 3 years. I want to see the Bengals get more aggressive at free agent. I want to see them do more things. I want to see them fully commit to trying to go get a Super Bowl and not just trying to, you know, maybe win the division and maybe make the playoffs. Like, that stuff is cool, but there's more. And I want to be a part of an organization as a fan that is committed to doing those things. And Joe Burrow, as a quarterback who only has a very limited time to play quarterback, want to make sure that the Bengals are committed to doing those things as well. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't really feel that strongly one way or another. I definitely want Joe Burrow to come to our team, and nothing that he has said to this point makes me think that he doesn't want to come to our team. If he ever does come out and say that, cool, I'll wish him the best and I'll move forward. But I'm not a fan of the fact that the mainstream media is they pushing, like they are really pushing this. They never talk about us, and when they do, it's something like this. You feel me? As a Bengals fan, it's kind of rough. Every day I'm looking on Twitter, I'm seeing this constantly, and I gotta send a shout out to people like Chad Johnson, who tweeted out, yo, I'm gonna go and sit down with Joe Burrow and have dinner with him and explain to him how great Cincinnati is and how great the fans are and how great all of this stuff is. A tweet that Joe Burrow actually liked over on Twitter, by the way, and this was like yesterday. So once again, we know that he definitely hasn't closed the door on that. He definitely hasn't committed to trying to pull an Eli Manning. So most of that stuff is just noise. We gotta wait and see what happens as we move forward. Very interesting. We'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully at the start of next season, Joe Burrow will be under center. AJ Green will be healthy. We would have had a good draft and be ready to actually go out there and compete. So that's what it is. I'm gonna holler at y'all next time. My name is FlemLo Raps.
Yeah, you'll never know quitter, 'cause I'ma go get